Hi, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, time to get started. I'm Nancy Langdon, Associate Dean of Accreditation and Strategic Initiatives at the Lewis College of Business, Brad D. Smith Schools of Business at Marshall University. I'm excited to be with you today. Welcome to the HERD 2020 Insights Small Business Webinar Series. We thank you for taking the time to attend this event. It's the second in a series of webinars given by the Lewis College of Business faculty and local businesses. The series showcases the combined experience of our faculty and local business professionals. The goal of the series is to help small businesses as they emerge from the COVID-19 crisis. Before we start the event today, I would like to introduce Avi Mukherjee, Dean of the Lewis College of Business, Brad D. Smith Schools of Business, who will say a few words about the college and its mission.
Thank you, Nancy. Welcome everyone to this exciting event. We appreciate your interest in this HERD 2020 Insights Small Business Webinar Series. The mission of the Lewis College of Business and its Brad D. Smith Schools of Business is to promote economic development in the regional community and beyond. We do this by implementing our strategic priorities for external engagement and economic development, including lifelong learning programs, the Business and Economics Research Symposium, the Dean's Distinguished Speaker Series, and the CEO panel that many of you attended last spring. The college also has outreach centers, including the Center for Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation, or the I-Center, that helps small businesses innovate with a focus on design thinking techniques, and the BB&T Center for Leadership that promotes consulting and research projects between students and the community. The college also cooperates with the Brad D. Smith Business Incubator to help promote entrepreneurship throughout the region. As the nation and the state start rebuilding businesses and economies coming out of the pandemic closures and lockdown, the Lewis College of Business is committed to supporting our local businesses, alumni, and other stakeholders in re-engaging, recharging, and redesigning their business models. Hence, we have developed this webinar series that will consist of presentations throughout the summer and into the fall, approximately every 2 weeks. We hope that you enjoy today's presentation and take something out of it to use in your business or professional activities to make West Virginia and the surrounding areas a better place for business and community engagement. Nancy Langton will now introduce today's speakers.
Thanks, Avi. Today's informative and engaging presentation titled Drive, Engage, and Convert: How to Succeed with Your Digital Marketing Strategy is brought to you by Tyson Ang and Casey Mosrie. Tyson is an assistant professor in marketing and a researcher with expertise in digital marketing. He has published in the top marketing journals. Casey is a commercial banking analyst at City National Bank and is a 2020 College of Business graduate in digital marketing and analytics. Tyson and Casey will discuss how to utilize your digital presence to seize growth opportunities and boost revenues. Please feel free to ask questions via the chat function throughout the presentation. Tyson and Casey will answer these questions at the end. I now turn it over to our presenters.
All right. Thank you very much, Nancy and Avi, for introducing two of us. Today, our task is to talk to you guys about digital marketing strategy and how does it relevant to all of us, especially small businesses during this particular unfortunate time. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of digital marketing strategy, I do like to talk about what has happening in the last couple months. So what has happened to businesses since COVID-19 started? Wall Street Journal has reported that bankruptcy increased by 26% in the first half of 2020. I was curious, how does this translate into the dollar amount? I just calculating from 2 months ago, which is May 2020, Bloomberg has reported that $85 billion worth of company has lost. So this has been very unfortunate time. These are some of the examples of company that we probably know for such a long time already. GNC and Go Gym from the health fitness area, And then you have JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, Pierce One, which is a retail-based company. And then if you are looking from the fast food / entertainment company, Chuck E. Cheese and Pizza Hut. These are just some of the examples of many companies that have gone under since COVID started. However, it's not all gloomy and doomy. You know, some of the businesses have actually survived, and believe it or not, some of them have thrived during this COVID-19 pandemic. To give you an example, again, from the health-based company, Peloton is actually a home-based workout company. They have been doing very well these last couple months. In fact, they netted a record revenue either this month or last month. And then from the retail perspective, right, you have Overstock and Wayfair, which is a furniture-based company. They did very well also. And probably the most relevant of all to us, small businesses and local businesses, are these three restaurants. They've been doing very well. They adapted very well to the situation that we are facing right now. So it's possible to survive and even to thrive. Now the question becomes, why? Why do some company works and some company doesn't work? From our perspective today in this webinar, we believe that one of the major ingredients of success to those companies that I showed you guys earlier was actually their digital marketing strategy components. There are two things, the reason why it could be the reason why they are doing very well. One is they have invested a lot of their time, money, and efforts into digital marketing strategy. And second, as a function of digital marketing strategy, they have relentlessly communicated with their in-home stakeholder about customers, about their in-home stakeholders about how they adapt to the whole situation through social media, through email marketing, through different avenues, digital avenues, just kind of informing their stakeholder about what's going on. So these are some of the examples of digital marketing strategy. You have social commerce, which is powered by social media, as we know, and I assume that our usage of social medias are really going up around this time. You have a search engine marketing, which is powered by Google and keyword optimization, and then probably the one that is probably the most underutilized, yet is effective and free, is an email marketing. Okay, so before I let Casey get into each one of these more deeper, I would like to first talk about the content. So in my opinion, there are two big things that is going on in digital marketing. One is the content, which is the king of it, and then you have a digital marketing strategy or techniques itself. So let's talk briefly about content. Bill Gates mentioned in 1996, which is about 2 decades ago, that content is the king, right? So content is where I expect much of the real money will be made on the internet, just as it was in broadcasting, which is traditional media. So he believed that it doesn't matter whether it's gonna be in traditional media like televisions or new media like internet, content will still grow. And we do believe that. We in digital marketing area believe that content is still the king. So to give you an example of what is content, years of my experience dwelling in this particular field, I have seen so many contents out there. One of my personal favorite content is actually a Dove content marketing. And you guys probably know what Dove is a health-based company, right? Beauty company. So what they did was they created this campaign called Campaign for Real Beauty, which was a successful campaign, boosted revenue, boosted a lot of engagement and awareness. It works very well. What happened was, just to give you a little bit background why this particular campaign worked so well, it was just before this campaign happened, beauty-based company or cosmetic companies always use celebrity as their spokesperson. So the hope is if we were to use their product, we're gonna look like those celebrities. So what Dove did is they did a market research and they found out that we are no longer buying that idea. No matter, I mean, we're starting to believe that no matter how much we use the product, we probably will never look like those celebrities. So what they did is they found that, hey, people starting to realize that the discrepancy between us, real people versus celebrities are too wide. So therefore, what they did is they came up with this campaign, uses real people like us as their spokesperson. So the hope is now that this discrepancy is lesser, when we use their products, it works better, right? So this campaign is a successful one. What they did is they continue this campaign going into a self-esteem project for teenagers. And then surprisingly, I found in the internet, they did one also for men. And they call this project a Dove Men Care. So if those men out there, if you use Dove, you probably heard this before. Okay, so that's an example of the content. So the question is, if content is the king, then who is the queen, right? Like the old saying, behind every great man, there is always a great woman, right? So who is the queen behind the throne? Yeah, if in the past, if the country wants to function well, you need to have an effective king and queen. The same here in digital marketing. We know that the king is the content. Now the question is, who is the queen, right? The queen is actually the digital marketing strategy itself. Okay, so this is the frame. So over the years of doing consulting, teaching, and research in this particular field, for me, digital marketing strategy boiled down into this framework, into these different elements. Others might say, oh, you're missing this and that, but for me, this is what effective digital marketing strategy looks like. So let me just very quickly talk about each of the elements, and then I will have Casey go into deeper for each one of the elements. The first one is, if you see on the very left, digital marketing. Every company needs to have digital marketing strategies. It could be the owner itself. It could be having a hiring and martial intern. I mean, we have a lot of great, bright martial students out there that looking for internship. I mean, they can do that, or start to outsource it to other digital marketing company. So what they do, what they do as a strategist is you need to do one of those 5, and even you can do 5 of them or whatever. So these are direct marketing, which is a traditional marketing like television. You have referral, which is using influencer or other website to refer to your product. Search marketing, having your products be found in a Google search engine, search result page, and then you have social media and email marketing. So the idea here is that using 5 of these techniques in digital marketing, you want to drive traffic to your online presence, which in this case, your website, right? So you think the first part is the techniques, those 5 techniques. The second part is the website. Now, what do you want them to do when they get to the website, right? You want them to convert, meaning that you want them to buy something, you want them to subscribe, you want them to sign up for, promotion, whatever way. This is what we call conversion. So in order for them to convert, you need to understand that the website has to be designed in such a way that's intuitive, and you have to optimize the website, okay? So it doesn't end there. When the customers purchase the product, it doesn't end there. The next part, which is the third part, probably the most important part of all, and I do believe that this is what differentiates an excellent digital marketing strategist and an average digital marketing strategist, is their understanding of key performance indicator analytics. So when they purchase the product, it doesn't end there. The company needs to ask the question, why? Why do our customers prefer search marketing compared to email marketing? Why do some of the people who come to our website never really buy the product, although the others actually purchase the product? So over time, as we get to understand more and more about the profile and the behavior of our customer, we can really optimize our website, okay? So the next part here, we will have Casey, which is one of our Marshall alumni out there, to present some of these components, okay?
Thank you, Tyson. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over the overview of a digital marketing framework, we're going to go over the components and how they can have good impacts on your business. The first one that I'm going to start with is direct traffic. So direct traffic is when a user goes to your website through typing in the URL or a bookmark that they have saved from a previous visit to your website. The example that I've included here is if you were to type in marshall.edu/COB, it would take you directly to the Marshall College of Business webpage. And so that's essentially what direct traffic is. With direct traffic, this might be one way to be less reliable on search engine marketing over time. It's less expensive to kind of invest in this method, but one of the drawbacks is that you can't really expand your reach much with direct traffic because people have to know what your URL is before they can visit your website. So there are more effective ways with referral traffic and other things that we'll get into that can increase your traffic that direct traffic cannot do. But one way that you can boost that is through traditional marketing sources such as radio or print or TV, making people aware of what your website is so that they can go and visit it that way. So with referral traffic, what that is traffic from sources that are outside of a search engine or direct traffic. So this is a user who might be on a blog or social media or a review site that has a link to your website. There's paid and unpaid referral traffic. So an example of paid traffic, which is affiliate marketing, might be you paying a blogger to feature one of your services or your products. So what they'll do is they'll write a feature on that, and if a customer clicks on the link and converts and purchases the product, then you'll pay that person a commission for having that on their blog. On the other hand, some people will do, you can get unpaid referral sources because some people will write a blog post about your product because they find value in it. And so the example that I have over here on the right of WordPress was an article that had the 10 best blogging sites that you can use if you want to start your own blog. And so WordPress was one of those. So all you would have to do is click the link and it would take you to the WordPress website where you would then sign up and start blogging. So the important thing to remember about referral traffic is that people trust referrals and can be more likely to convert because of it. So it's one thing for a business to say a lot of good things about themselves and promote themselves in that way. But it's even better when a customer or a client or someone who has experienced that business leaves a review or says something good about the businesses themselves, because a lot of people find that to be more trustworthy and reliable than a business speaking for themselves. The next traffic that we're going to get into is search traffic. And so that's, if you've ever Googled anything, you probably have a pretty good idea of what this is. And as you can imagine, it's a key source of information in today's day and age. So with search traffic, it's paid and organic. And so on the right here, you can see a search results for business consulting. And in the red boxes, you'll see what the paid search results were, which is a business will bid on keywords through Google Ads or something like that and do a paid per click campaign. And so when someone searches something, their goal is to be at the top of these paid results. But also what's important is organic search, which is in the blue box here. And that's free to do, essentially, that you don't have to pay for the ad space. But 50% of all website traffic comes from organic search. So it's very important. That's more than paid search and social media traffic to a website combined. And so one of the things that plays into this a lot is the search engine optimization, or otherwise known as SEO. And a lot of businesses will spend money on building up their website so that their SEO is good, because what that will do is allow you to rank higher in the search rankings so that people will see your business and click on your link, hopefully. There's over 200 components that Google uses in their algorithm for this that we're not going to dive into today. But it is a complicated thing that you can talk to someone about building that up for your own website. One of the key takeaways for search traffic is that it does something that traditional marketing like a billboard or TV really can't do, which is it puts you in front of a customer when their intentions are high. So with search traffic, if you search something, you have higher intentions and you're already more likely to convert because of that. Whereas with traditional marketing, if someone drives by a billboard, you really can't know whether or not they were interested in your product or even saw the billboard in the first place. So next I'm going to talk about social media. And social media are the websites and applications that allow users to create content, share content, or participate in social networking. So one of the biggest questions might be, which platforms should your business be using? So Facebook is the #1 social media platform that's used in our country and essentially around the world. You have other platforms like Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and countless others, but here I've just included like the top 6. And it's important to remember the business, you could in theory be on all of these, but each one of these social media platforms has demographics that might be similar to your business. So you're going to want to be on social media platforms that are relevant to your business goals. Now you might be saying that, isn't social media what my kids use to talk to their friends and look up silly videos? And in part, yes, that is true. But social media has a lot of business uses as well. Some of those include engaging with your customers, communicating with them. You can have conversations with people about your business and inform them on different things that you're doing. And so in one sense, this might be an enhanced way of customer relationship management. You can also get leads from advertising on social media through Facebook ads or Twitter ads or Instagram. I've included an example here. I think this is a really good example of what a local business has done during the pandemic in response to it. This is Mi Cocina de Amor. It's a Mexican restaurant in Charleston. And when you go to their Facebook page, this little messaging thing in the middle right here it pops up automatically. So you can click on a pre-selected prompt such as, can I see a menu? And they will respond by sending you a menu. If you look to the right here, there is a post from on May 1st that they made about what their response was to the pandemic, how they were reopening, how things were going to be clean and social distance. You know, they have a picture of their outdoor patio to provide people with an image of what this might look like. And you can see with 25 comments from customers and 28 shares, this post likely was seen by thousands of people because people cared about the content and wanted to share it. So in short, social media is very cheap because it's free to do, and it can be very effective because people can share stuff about your business and you can inform your customers in that way. So one of the last components is email marketing. And with email marketing, it's an old tactic, but it's still very effective. You can use it to build relationships with your customers. You can increase retention by continuing relationships that you already have with people or building new relationships. And email marketing actually has one of the greatest ROIs in marketing. It's fairly cheap to do. You can do it for free if you don't have that many people that you're emailing. So it's less expensive than a lot of other forms of digital marketing like search engine marketing, for example. This right here is an example of a company that sells contacts. So they've used email to, they send an email to a customer that has purchased contacts before, giving them the option to repurchase because they've made the assumption based on, you know, maybe market research that they've done that this is the amount of time that someone has probably used their contacts, and so they're going to need new ones. And so they're putting this right in front of the customer to where they can click on the email and purchase it that way. So it's really simple for them to buy something again. Airbnb, on the other hand, has used email to get someone to take a survey or leave a review maybe on one of the properties that they stayed at. So you can also use emails to get a better idea from your customers or clients on what they perceive about your business. So it can be a good way to get information from them in that sense. So now that we've talked about the sources that kind of drive the traffic to your website, I'm going to get into the website design and optimization itself. The web design is really important because when people come to your website, this is obviously what they're going to see. So you can have a really good strategy to get people to your site, but then if the website design and optimization isn't good, then people might have a bad experience there. And you know, some studies have shown that people will associate the quality of your business with the quality of your online presence in your website. And 89% of customers are willing to take their business elsewhere solely because the website usability wasn't good. So the big thing that comes into play here is the user experience. And this is another one of those components that will have 200 different factors that play into it that we won't get into today. But one of the things that I'd like you to understand about the user experience is, you know, that includes things like the speed of the site or the colors that you might use. And so with the front end of the website, this is what users will see. So the colors, your branding, and different things like that. This is where usability comes into play. So like the ease of finding things and being able to search for stuff on your website, this will help increase your revenue and conversions because the user will know what to do when they get there. The back end is what's in the coding. So this is where you might do things with extensions on your site that might help increase the speed so that someone's not waiting 10 seconds for the website to load, which makes them back out and go somewhere else. So now that we talked about the website design, we're going to move on to tracking and measuring your success with your digital marketing strategy. So this is going to include conversions and key performance indicators. So with conversions, it's like the end goal of your marketing campaign. This is a specific action that you want a customer to take. So maybe you want them to buy a product, or maybe you want them to sign up for a newsletter. These are common goals that some people will have. And so depending on what your goal is, you'll see different impacts to your revenue in that way. But conversions are important because they allow you to track your marketing success. And 97% of campaigns that are not tracked in some way ultimately fail. And it's likely because businesses are just unaware of what's working well and what's not, so they don't know what changes need to be made. So I've included some pictures here of some common conversion goals and what they might look like on a website. On Amazon, you've got the add to cart feature. So that would be a conversion, or you can just buy the product now with one click. Here you see a company using it to get people to sign up for emails or even sign up for newsletters. And so going along with conversions are the key performance indicators, or KPIs. KPIs are extremely important because they are quantifiable ways for you to measure the success of your marketing campaign, and you can use these metrics and KPIs to adapt and make changes to your strategy based on what you see is going on, essentially. So what you want to do is measure KPIs that align with your goals, because there are countless metrics nowadays with analytics that you could use, but not all of them will be relevant to your goals as a business. And these goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So just to give you an example of what that might look like, let's say that you're doing a paid search campaign and you want to decrease your cost per acquisition by 10% over a 3-month period. So that's a very specific goal, and now you can find KPIs that will help you measure whether or not you're doing that. KPIs that the primary one would be your cost per acquisition. Other KPIs would include conversion rate, click-through rate, bounce rate, and different things like that. You'll have industry averages that you can compare it to see how you're doing compared to the industry. And again, these KPIs are good ways to see what you're doing well, so that maybe you can hone in on things that you're doing well, or you can focus on the stuff that needs a little bit more work. So really you can customize that based on what your goals are. And with KPIs, they will change depending on the digital marketing channel. So a social media KPI for engagement, for example, would not be the same as the engagement KPIs that you would want to see doing well on your actual website. So now that I've discussed that, I'm going to hand it back off to Tyson for some quick takeaways from our presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Casey, for your excellent explanations. So this is our last slide of this presentation. We will talk a little bit about the quick takeaways. I mean, we like to have this, conclusion kind of slides, just that, to simplify things. And we have given you so much information, this last 20 minutes or so. So the first one that we feel is probably the best, like one of the 4 takeaways that we recommend is every businesses do need digital marketing strategies. It shouldn't be an afterthought. Digital marketing strategies should be a position that is permanent within a firm, because that is how companies going to, that's marketing. Marketing is changing. Marketing is going toward digital, and if a company value marketing, then they should value digital marketing strategies. And I think there is no perfect time than this time really to experiment with digital marketing methods. I mean, this will really get you to see the effectiveness of digital marketing. One is because probably the other type of marketings are not doing as well, and second, your potential customers are probably potentially are staying home right now. So the best way to get them to aware about your product is really to do digital marketing. So the second takeaways are very practical, right? So as we mentioned earlier, company need to have a website. I mean, I'm sure a lot of companies out there have a website. If you don't, then you can either hire our one of our Marshall students intern, or you can go to Fiverr.com, which is a freelance-based website where you can hire people to do your website. Let's say that you say that, hey, maybe let's not have website right now. We'll get it later. Sure, but have at least some other types of online presence. So in this case, we will recommend having some sort of social media page, like Facebook page or Instagram page, Twitter page. So all your digital marketing effort gonna be directed to your social media page. Another practical recommendation here is if you have businesses, if you haven't, make sure you register your website to Google My Business. This is free and fast. It's again another free tools out there. It's an email marketing. I mean, free in a way that it's the dollar amount free, but it does take some time to come up with the contents. So in that regard, it's not as free because you do need to put some effort in it. And then pay attention to your review site like Yelp. Address them, show them that you care about their concern. The third recommendation is this again another free resources here. Casey mentioned about website design, website optimizations. To really do that, you really need to register your website to Google Analytics. Google make this available and free for everybody. So if you can register to one of these and then leave it probably for a month, and then you can see actually how do your customers behave inside your website. I mean, why do some of them click this button but not that button? Why do people who go into your website leave within 5 seconds? You get to understand this. During what time of the day that do people most likely go to your website? So this will all reveal through Google Analytics. In fact, if you're thinking about doing search engine optimization, then this will be the first step toward doing search engine optimization. And finally, probably this is the more like holistic takeaway that we come up with, is that every businesses have different approach to its digital marketing strategy. Probably the best way is to do a mix and match approach. I mean, you don't have to do all the 5 that we recommended earlier. You can choose maybe 1, 2, or even more if you want to. But the idea here is that every companies have different types of resources. I mean, we understand that there is limited resources out there. I mean, especially during this time, COVID-19. I mean, this is usually the behaviors of the company is that as soon as crisis hits, the very first thing that they're gonna cut is marketing, right? So this is it's not a good idea to do that, because marketing is the only connection between companies and customers. When marketing disappears, you cannot really talk to your customers anymore. And you know that customers is your only revenue generator. So it's probably not really a good idea to cut off your revenue generator. Therefore, if you have a limited resources, still do your marketing, but you can choose a more efficient way and effective way for your company. And I can say that digital marketing is, as far as costs, are so much more efficient than traditional marketing, and yet it is so effective because it's targeted to those people who already have interest in your type of products before. Okay, so those are the 4 quick takeaways that we have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and if you guys have any questions, I'm gonna have Nancy do the questions now.
Thanks, Tyson and Casey, for a wonderful and very insightful presentation. We all learned a lot today. I'll now read some of the questions that were posted during the event and some that arrived by email before the event. The first question posted is, what methods should a nonprofit organization use?
Let's go back to the framework.
Or are there any particular of these methods that you would recommend more for a nonprofit?
Yeah, so I would say that, in digital marketing, for-profit and non-profit doesn't really differentiate much, because if you think about church, right? Church is a non-profit. I mean, they still use marketing, right? Because they need to recruit, followers. So, I mean, but depending, again, at the end of the day, it's really depend on the resources that you have within your organization, whether it's non-profit or for-profit. You can really always choose which of these five that you're comfortable in doing, right? So we talk about email marketing being, Casey mentioned about having the highest ROI, and then I talk about email marketing being free. I mean, this is a great tool. I mean, have somebody that understand the mission and vision of the nonprofit organization to create and craft the contents for your email marketing, and then you can send it through to your constituents. I mean, even through social media channels. I mean, it's perfect. It's very flexible. Casey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think email and social media came to mind for me. But just it also depends on what the goals of the nonprofit are. So, like I think email might be a more efficient way to raise funds or something like that, whereas social media is a good way to connect with people and help them to see what the nonprofit does and communicate with people in that way. So part of it does depend on kind of what the goals are too.
Did you have experience with doing digital marketing with a church, right? Your church?
Yeah, I did. I've done some digital marketing with a church that's local to Huntington,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of what I did was social media stuff. And we kind of briefly got into experimenting with emails. So again, social media was just a way that we used to communicate with people and help them kind of visualize what we were doing. So hopefully that kind of helps give you an idea of where to start.
Okay, thanks. That was a lot of help. Another question we have from the audience is, can you explain bounce rate in Google Analytics and how it should be interpreted?
Yeah, so bounce rate is essentially when someone comes to your website and within like the first 30 seconds they leave. That's not ideally something that you would want to see. So the bounce rate is kind of the percentage of people that are coming to your website and doing that. And the way that you can interpret that is you can kind of see like a bounce rate, for example. Let's say that you searched for business consulting and you clicked on the link to go to the person's website and it wasn't business consulting. Then the person's going to get there and leave because of the lack of consistency. So in some ways, it kind of depends on, it goes back to the keyword that was searched in that case, because the person was expecting one thing and then they got another. So you kind of have to look at the context of the bounce rate too to see what the reasoning for it was. But like I said, that's when someone comes to your website and I guess just like kind of doesn't see what they're looking for or wasn't what they expected, so they leave within the first 30 seconds.
To add to Casey, I mean, ideally, if you have your Google Analytics on, there is an analytics says call bounce rate, metrics call bounce rate, or KPIs, you can call it that. The idea here really, you want to have a very low bounce rate for your website, right? Because you don't want them to get out. You want them to stick, playing around, read the content, things like that.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Another question is, do most web designers understand the different things that you've talked about regarding digital marketing? Or is this something I need to make sure that they know about before I hire them to do my website?
Most website developers and developing teams even do understand this, and a lot of them will know how to optimize a website to drive for conversions. And so there's different tactics to do that, like funneling the user down your website so that they will convert at the end of that page or something. And so a lot of them understand where this traffic comes from, and some will even help you connect your website to the Google Analytics and things like that. So they know what all these traffic sources are, and they really do understand well kind of the framework behind it. So a lot of times the helpful thing, instead of kind of telling them what that framework is, we'll just be discussing what your goals are as a business, what your goals are with your website, and maybe where you're lacking and different things like that will be one of the areas that they can help in.
So to add to Casey, so the idea of like if the question is, do most web designers knows whether how to create a website? I mean, it's really depend on the purpose, right? So we usually talk about creating a website for the purpose of search engine optimization, so that the website can be found through organic search, right? So that's really usually the goal. If you see a lot of companies are redesigning their web, it's really because of that reason. They want to be found through organic searches in your Google search engine result page. So to do that, I would say that usually probably the website designer need to have some sort of marketing background to understand the idea of search engine optimization. It's not just aesthetic per se. It's more about having the website, like Casey mentioned, funneling, having those call to actions, button there, having different transition color, having the top end and front end, bottom end is getting separated. So it's a lot of different techniques involved in optimizing your website for a organic search purposes.
Okay, we had someone request that you show the contact information on the screen again. If you guys could click to that.
Which one?
The last slide that shows your name, the contact information.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Thank
now,
you.
are you good?
Perfect. And there is another question. It says, do you prefer email or social media as a method to communicate with customers? Which one of the two is more trustworthy?
More trustworthy. I think both are good. If you look anywhere, a lot of people say that they prefer to hear from a company through email about information and deals and things like that. But that's not to say that they don't prefer to communicate with them on social media. As far as trustworthiness goes, I know with email, one of the things that you have to worry about is, maybe if you send an email, it might end up in someone's junk box if you don't go through the proper steps of affirming that they want to receive those emails. But also with social media, there's not a guarantee that your organic post will be seen by that person every single time because of the way that they have things set up. So I would say that they're both pretty trustworthy as long as the person knows that it is truly your business that is reaching out to them. And it depends on the goals that you have too. I think that if you want to build a relationship with a customer and give them more opportunities to convert, then email might be the right way to go. But with social media, you can actually have conversations with them. They can kind of get to know your business, and other people can see those conversations too.
Yeah, exactly, perfect. Yeah, I was about to say, it really depends on the purpose. I know that where you come from as far as trustworthy, because email is always seen as a spam, which it shouldn't be, because the customer is supposed to be the one that give the permission to email about the company's product. So it should never be seen as a spam. So that should not discourage you from using email marketing, because it is not a spam. It is a very effective tool if it is being done correctly. If the way you gather your list of email is done correctly, by really asking them for permission, it shouldn't be seen as a spam. But again, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be about the purpose, right? With social media, you get to engage with customers in a real-time fashion, which for the purpose of PR, public relation, that's perfect. But for email marketing, you can be used as a reminder. Hey, you bought our car 3 months ago. It's time for the first service. Hey, let's come back. Or you bought our cars maybe 6 months ago or a year ago. Hey, we have a new model now. Or you can introduce a new product using email. So it's really depends on the purpose.
Okay. We have a couple more questions and a little bit more time. Someone has a question that if a business has been doing digital marketing for a while and they feel like it is not working, what should they change first?
Well, I think that it would be helpful to kind of, if they've evaluated it, then maybe it's time to talk to someone else and have them kind of evaluate what the current strategy is. I think it does come down to what the strategy, like having a strategy and and what their goals are. And so that would kind of, depending on that, would kind of change what you would change first. But there, it might need, maybe you need a new strategy, or just a new way to approach certain things and make certain adjustments. And it could be little stuff where it could be big. But my recommendation would just be talking to someone. And, you know, there's people that do consulting, or there's agencies that you can reach out to that'll do, you know, kind of like look through stuff with you to help you understand what you're doing well and what opportunities you might
To add to Casey, I mean, we talk about the two components of, you know, digital marketing strategy. You have the tools itself, and then you have the content, right? The content could be the issue, right? The content could be something that doesn't catch the customers right away about your company. Maybe you should pick your content, do a little bit of survey, focus group. I mean, seeing like what do really customer really want from what do customer really want from your company, from your product, or you know the second part of that is that one is the content, and then second is looking at the Google Analytics, see the performance of your website. Would it be because you did very well on the tools? When the people come in, they're not having fun time with your website. They couldn't find anything. They couldn't order. They have difficulty putting their credit card numbers. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons, right? So that's why we talk about those framework. There are three things, and those three things has to sync with each other. Those things has to be done correctly to have a good digital marketing, effective digital marketing performance.
Yeah, just bouncing off of that too is going back to the importance of like KPIs and metrics is one of the ways that you can know what needs changed is by having those in the first place. And so if you haven't implemented any sort of KPIs or metrics or Google Analytics for your website, then maybe a first step, and this is probably what any agency or consultant would say, is you need to understand where the issues are at before you can know what to change. And metrics and KPIs are a good way to do that.
Right. Another question is, sorry, I was trying to read it and it bumped up on the screen. So I wrote it down. Is your marketing strategy with using text messages seen as a digital marketing strategy?
So just to clarify here, is this question, does the text messages qualify as a digital marketing strategy?
Yes, that's the question.
I mean, text messages, I mean, could be seen as a digital marketing strategy.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, you know, I've seen text messaging used a little bit. You know, one of the ways that you know you might have experienced yourself is that someone might send you an appointment reminder, or maybe like a payment reminder or something like that through a text message. And so text messages are a really good way for reminder purposes. But I think that, you know, at least me personally, I think that would come off, depending on how you use it, more so than emails in like a spammy way. So I like to receive texts as reminders, and you can opt in and out of that kind of stuff too. So I definitely think that would be included in digital marketing. Yes.
I mean, again, like, could be seen as more inclusive than you know, email marketing if it is, right? Because it's more personal space as far as text. So I will agree with Casey that probably reminder is the best use of text messages.
Yeah.
Okay, another one popped up. This one is there any marketing study that should be done prior to engaging in digital marketing?
So yeah, so I would say that, you know, we mentioned about content being the king, right? And then the tools strategy itself being the queen. I would say that really, I mean, content is not as easy to get the content right is really a challenging task. It requires a lot of experiment, and in doing so, yes, you do need to do marketing research if you have the budget to do that. You know, I mean, nowadays you can do survey. You can easily go to SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics or Google Forms to just, you know, ask through your Facebook fan page. You know, like think about what are the top quality of the companies that you think, and maybe you can use the top 3 as a way to create your content, or you can do focus group. But yeah, I do think that doing marketing research is very beneficial in coming up with the content, because that is very important part of digital marketing strategy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think I've used that in a couple scenarios and internships that I've had where, you know, surveying campus to see what what social media people were more likely to be on, how they preferred to hear about events and things like that. And based on their responses, you're able to make adjustments to your marketing strategy. But like Tyson said, if you don't really have a budget to do a large survey or anything like that, there's plenty of research that's online and available to people that you can always get good insight from and use that to kind of inform your decisions that you're going to make. So, just an example off the top of my head, you could easily go and see what kind of demographics are on each social media. And so maybe a starting point would be, which social media does our business need to be on? Well, Facebook aligns with our demographics the best, so let's start there. And then kind of once you build off of that, then you have a base on Facebook where you could potentially survey them and you don't have to spend as much money on finding respondents and things like that. So that, yeah, I guess, yeah, perfect.
All right. Another question, thank you. Another question is, and this is, there's a lot to this question, so I'm going to kind of read it slowly. Phones are becoming the quickest forms of access for digital and social media platforms. Additionally, there has been pressure on social media companies in this political season. Very recently, the Supreme Court ruled last week restricting robocalls for the purpose of collecting federal debt. Do you foresee more restrictions either by the courts or Congress, and with any implications for corporations for digital marketing?
I mean, we think about phone. I mean, phone could be seen as one of the digital marketing strategy, although it's not that important ingredients there. But I mean, as far as social media, there has been issues as privacy, right? The way that, I mean, it has been going on in the last couple of years now that Facebook having the privacy issue. But I wouldn't really foresee much restriction if you were to do it for the, business ads purposes. It's more for like, political reason, then, it becomes restricted. But, if it is for businesses, you're doing a good, honest work here. I mean, I don't see that as a restriction, and anytime soon, at least. Do you have anything to add?
That's a good question. One that I haven't really thought about too much. Just I do think that businesses still will do well to be on social media and things like that because of the amount that people use their phones for, things like that. And so I don't think we would see any kind of laws or anything that would kind of prohibit that, at least in the near future. So right now, this season's been kind of hectic with everything going on, and you've seen some new stuff come out. But I wouldn't really say that I see anything like that in the foreseeable future. But obviously, if that did happen, it would have an impact on how things work. But like I said, I don't know if I see that happening anytime soon.
Okay. We have time for one last question, and that is, what is the biggest mistake you have seen some companies make with digital marketing?
I think the biggest mistake would probably be, other than just a lack of digital marketing presence, would be not having a strategy, or like we looked at the SMART model earlier, having goals that you set beforehand. Because if you don't have a strategy and you don't have goals that you're working towards, then what can happen is you start doing this stuff all over the place, but you never know really where you're going to end up. So usually if you start somewhere, you kind of know where you want to finish, or at least where you want to get to. And without a strategy and without goals, it makes it really hard to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Casey. I mean, the big picture is missing, right? There is no big picture. I mean, usually when you think about social digital marketing strategy, you should think about it as from the marketing business point of view, instead of design point of view. A lot of people think that, hey, if I can design, I can do digital marketing strategy. No, that's not true. You need marketers. You need marketers to do this kind of job. You need the marketers with a vision, a goal, like business-minded individual that should drive, your digital marketing strategy. Google Analytics are something that is being afterthought for a lot of people. Even some companies are not aware there is Google Analytics that you can actually track your websites. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I usually see. The content, underestimating the importance of the content is also one of the big things that I would say. But it is very important to really have a strategies that have a business background, like marketing background to really drive your digital marketing campaign, I would say.
And I think too, you've seen, we're talking to a lot of smaller businesses, and I know that we both said it a few times, is just because all of this digital marketing stuff is available doesn't mean that you have to do all of it. Because as a small business, you likely don't have the manpower and the time and the capability to be everywhere and on all these platforms like a big company, a nationwide company would be able to do. And so, maybe start off with a smaller focus and expand as you're able to. But if you try to start doing all this stuff new at once, it can be overwhelming and unsuccessful.
Okay, thank you, Casey and Tyson. This wraps it up for our second HERD 2020 Insights Small Business webinar. We want to announce our next webinar that will be in 2 weeks on July 27th. It is titled Counterbalances and Counter Strategy, a Pandemic Pathway to Business Innovation. It will be presented by our faculty member, Uwe Lawani, and business consultant, Alan Letton. Look for the registration email to arrive shortly. Please share this email invite with anyone you know who might benefit from these events. We appreciate your participation today and all your questions. And always remember, we are Marshall.